back to Women's Day and celebrating Women's Day and achievements made in the past years. Joining us in our studio is Mireille Carrera, Executive Chairwoman, Lead Coach at Cora Coaching and Business Academy. Welcome to our studio, Mireille.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Women's Day, first of all.
Happy Women's Day to you too. You look beautiful.
Thank you. You look beautiful too.
Thank you.
First of all, before we engage in this discussion, can you briefly tell our viewers your achievements as a professional woman?
My achievement as a professional, wow. How many minutes do we have?
We have time.
We have time. Well, I think I can share it this way. One as an employed, as a professional, and one perhaps as an entrepreneur. I remember when I was still in the diaspora, one of my dreams was to work for global organizations and I travel many countries, so work in different countries on different continents. And I believe that by the grace of God, I have achieved that. I had given that myself as a goal. And that road has closed. But the other goal, which I believe is something that is an achievement, is to work for myself. So become an entrepreneur, go from an employee to an employer. So that's something I've always dreamt of doing before I turned 40. And there I managed to do that at the age of 38. So 2 years ahead of my goals. I believe that this is something that I treasure. I believe that many people aspire to be. So I will be 48 in the next, 2 months or so. So it would have been 10 years now as an entrepreneur. So going from an employee into an employer.
Speaking of your journey, what sort of challenges did you face in that journey of achieving the goals that you gave yourself?
Yeah, so the challenges, I believe specifically as a woman, because it's Women's Day, but also as a woman entrepreneur, I believe the challenges I had were at the beginning, at the early stages of starting up Cora, and moving from where I was outside of the African continent back into the continent in Rwanda and other countries as well. So the challenge was around market readiness, making sure that people understand what coaching is about, that coaching is not counseling, it's not mentoring, but really educating the market has taken us a very long time. It took us maybe 2-3 years for people to be ready to receive coaching. So that, I believe, was a challenge that obviously took a hit on the bottom line, financially speaking. So that I believe many entrepreneurs that are following us will definitely relate to the fact that when you start up, particularly if you don't have any funding, so sustaining your early startup at the beginning is certainly something that is challenging. And according to statistics, 80% to 90% end up giving up. So what I celebrate is the fact that I didn't give up and I'm still running no matter what the journey is.
That's
so
awesome.
That I love.
Awesome. In your experience through that journey, how do women respond to the sorts of opportunities that opens up thanks to the services Cora provides?
It depends. There again, it depends. If we go with the theme of employee versus employed, or leaders, professional women working for organizations versus those who actually own their businesses. So, for example, let me start with that. When people go through Cora Coaching and Business Academy's program, so what they will become is they become professional coaches. So they are able to open up their practices, they can become executive coaches, life coaches, business coaches, etc. So they open a practice just like a lawyer will have a legal practice or a doctor a practice. So you actually earn an income. So one of the benefits financially is that you actually earn a living out of what you know. But for those who don't practice that full time, and we coach and train in organization, of course, they add value to their businesses. The culture of coaching is created, meaning that people are more cohesive. There are so many research and studies that have been done to actually work out the impact of coaching. Because coaching is about understanding who you are, it's about understanding where you are, how you actually perform once you know how to tap into your potential, how you know how to live with others as well. So within organization, coaching, in fact, helps with the culture of oneness, the culture of performance and productivity. So we coach leaders from the board to the executive committee to junior members of staff, helping them really to grow, and more importantly, the self-discovery process of knowing that you are there to add value.
So in your professional opinion, how important are government policies when it comes to facilitating women in business to help them succeed?
So how are policies, government policies important? Okay, so a disclaimer is that I've always been in the private sector, so I cannot speak on behalf of the government. So my perspective will be purely from a private sector perspective. And, but looking at where we are in Rwanda, I believe Rwanda really shines. Rwanda has been doing really well when it comes to policies around gender equity, gender parity. Numbers speak for themselves, and many nations really envy Rwanda for that. So I believe the government has done a lot on the political side, but it's my personal opinion. I believe it's time that not only as Rwandans, but as Africans, we start owning our journey, we start owning where we are. So in terms of practical things, I believe that the government perhaps could do versus the private sector. Perhaps when it comes to women, maybe think about before the woman goes into business, the woman is a girl. So what type of education do you need to think about already at the primary level or even kindergarten level, primary, secondary, and I know at the university level, there are a number of things that are changing. So thinking about elements of emotional intelligence so that the girl child is confident to believe that she too can achieve anything, that she too can do anything that she wants. So maybe adjusting the curriculum to embed self-confidence, emotional intelligence, over and above all other things, I believe might be certain things that we can already incorporate in the curricula to ensure that there is no mental gap, so to speak, between when the woman leaves the corporate world or leaves school and goes into the corporate world, that she believes she can't do, she can't perform. If time allows, I would like to share 3 things that we have seen that I believe through certain policies, yes, at the public service level, but also private, can help address some of the gender gap. So having coached so many people, but also having seen in some researches, there are 3 levels that women go through in terms of the career path and also sort of shattering the glass ceiling, so to speak. So at the early stage, there is an issue of confidence. So the younger people leave university, they're starting their career, they have an issue with confidence. Am I good enough? Am I as good as the next person? So that is an issue we see is very common. And one of the things to do to overcome that is obviously have more discussions around, yes, you can, yes, you are worthy, that sense of it's your place. Sit at the table, it's your place. So that's number 1, addressing the confidence issue. But the second thing, so the higher you go, you will notice, and I'm sure there are studies that show that the bigger pull from university up, there are more girls leaving university. But the higher you go, yes, there is the area of marriage, having children, and a lot of a social constraint. So the second thing is women tend to forget themselves because they have so much. So here, what tends to happen is that they tend to give up. So rather than going for the executive position, they actually end up staying at home because there is no support system around them to make sure that they are supported. So I suppose from a corporate policy would be good to have flexibility, but also, and I know Mifotra has done an amazing job with changing the school hours so that there is more quality time between kids and parents. So here, I suppose what is available there is just have those policies, but at the same time, at the personal level, learn to say no. Learn to say no when you feel like you are overwhelmed, so you don't forget yourself and you end up actually doing more for others and not yourself. The third thing, which I think is really equally important, is the higher you go in terms of the hierarchy of leadership or the pyramid of leadership. So when you look at the board level, executive committee, heads of departments. So you will have one issue with women in business or women in leadership. So that will be the issue of guilt. The issue of guilt is incredible among women. So having coached hundreds of women, including myself, there is that issue of guilt where maybe you are a CEO of an organization, maybe you earn more money than your husband or your boyfriend, fiancé, or whatever, the people around you, and then you feel guilty, or maybe you don't spend much time with your children. So that issue actually I've seen has plagued many, many women, and they end up dimming their light. So I would even say, don't dim your light. Find the ways and frameworks to make sure that you actually shine brighter, because everyone around you will shine brighter. So here, that's something I've also gone through myself. And I'm not speaking out of the books and research and what I have come across, but those are the three things I too had to overcome from the earlier, where I had to believe that I can. Even if I lived in Europe, in the Middle East, as a black woman, formerly refugee, formerly girl, whatever category, I too had to work myself up to believe that I'm confident, I can do anything, and also I deserve it. I'm here to add value. So once you know all of those things, there is no barrier at all.
Yeah. Before we let you go and end this amazing discussion, you spoke of empowering young girls through education.
Yes.
But there are young female professionals aiming to become future success stories. What sort of advice would you give them?
So they're aiming to become successful stories.
Yeah.
There are two parts. It's a compounded question there. So one, I know we are in the world of Instagram and Twitter and TikTok, etc. Don't aim to become a story. Don't aim to have the hits, the likes, etc., but aim to know yourself. So your success comes with knowing yourself. Your success comes with knowing why you are doing what you do. So discovering your potential, what you do best, your uniqueness is in fact what is underneath. That's a treasure that will actually get you to shine. So not necessarily go for the crowd, but go for why am I here? Who am I? What talents do I have? What can I do better than anybody? And that will bring confidence. Then that would make sure that you don't even see the barriers, because those barriers, yes, will be there. There is no perfect world. But the stories, yes, it's good to tell them, but the stories are better told by someone else. So let your story be told by someone else.
Yeah. Thank you very much for taking your time to join us in our news. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. To other matters, Regine Mukairanga is a 36-year-old